Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
This week, the Jewish people celebrated 74 years of having a home that we can call our own. From Wednesday night to Thursday night in Eretz Yisrael, they celebrated Yom HaAtzmaut, Israeli Independence Day. But there was some questions on that first year about when would they actually declare themselves a state. Because if I recall my history correctly, I believe that it was on the 15th of May that Israel would be released from the British rule, but the 15th would have been Shabbat. We can't do that. We can't do business on Shabbat. We can't do politics on Shabbat. So it was just as the sun set on a Friday night that gathered in a very humble building in Tel Aviv, the founders of the state came together, and David Ben-Gurion read these words: "We appeal to the Jewish people throughout the diaspora to rally around the Jews of Eretz Yisrael in the tasks of immigration and upbuilding, and to stand by them in the great struggle for the realization of the age-old dream, the redemption of Israel. Placing our trust in the Rock of Israel, we affix our signatures to this proclamation, and at this session of the Provisional Council of State, on the soil of the homeland, in the city of Tel Aviv, on this Sabbath Eve, the 5th day of Iyar, 5708. First time in 2,000 years that we were a free people in our own land. What a joyous Shabbat that must have been. And so as we celebrate Shabbat tonight, on the 74th anniversary, I think we're reminded that the business of building a nation is not done once or just in a few years or even in 74 years, but building a nation, a democracy, a place that lives up to the ideals of the Jewish people. This is something that has to be done every year, every day, throughout all time. And so we as a Jewish people on this Shabbat affirm our commitment to Klal Yisrael, to the Jewish people in our homeland, in the land that is also our home here, and throughout the world. May we always know the type of joy that our ancestors knew on that beautiful day, on the 5th of Iyar in 5708. We continue with a prayer for Israel and a prayer for the world on page 657.
Ojavo Shalom Aleinu. Ojavo Shalom Aleinu. Ojavo Shalom Aleinu. Ve'al Kulam. Ojavo Shalom Aleinu. Ojavo Shalom Aleinu. Ojavo Shalom Aleinu. Ve'al Kulam. Salam Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam Shalom. Salam. Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Salam Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam Shalom. Salam Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam Shalom. Ojavo Shalom Aleinu. Ojavo Shalom Aleinu. Ojavo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Ojavo Shalom Aleinu. Ojavo Shalom Aleinu. Ojavo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam.
Before before we're in the proper mood to be able to greet the Sabbath Queen, we need to first greet one another, to welcome each other. In order to do this, we also have to know who in the world we're sitting near. So let's take a few moments to stand up, to greet the people we're sitting near, the people we did not know when we came in this evening. Yeah, but I've got cotton mouth.
That was so yes. That's what your little comment.
I love the sounds of people getting to know each other, of wishing each other a Shabbat Shalom. But the Sabbath Queen says she has many, many synagogues to hit until before the moon comes up. And so we continue with Lecha Dodi on page 138. And we'll be singing verses 1, 2, 5, and 9, page 138.
Sometimes, Rabbi, I think you just live to say that, don't you?
I do. Actually,
Practice it at home.
one of these days I'm going to mess you up, and I'm going to say we're doing 1, 3, 7, and 9, and see what happens.
I'll still do 1, 2, 5, and 9. Lecha Dodi likrat kala pnei Shabbat nehla vela lecha Dodi likrat kala pnei Shabbat nehla vela Shamor v'zachor v'digur echad Tishmi'onu el ha'miyuchad Adonai echad v'shemo echad v'shem tiferet v'litehila lecha Dodi likrat kala pnei Shabbat nehla vela lecha Dodi likrat kala pnei Shabbat nehla vela Likrat Shabbat mechuvin el echad Ki mekor haberacha merosh mikevem mesukah Sof ma'aseh v'mot Shabbat techila lecha Dodi likrat kala pnei Shabbat nekavela lecha Dodi likrat kala pnei Shabbat nekavela Hitoreri, hitoreri, ki ba'orech umi ori, 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 shir daberi, kavod Adonai alayich nikra lecha Dodi, likrat kala pnei Shabbat, nekavela lecha Dodi, likrat kala pnei Shabbat, nekavela.
Boi v'shalom ateret bala gam b'simcha ובצהולה תוך אמוני עם סגולה בואי חלה בואי חלה
לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה
We have a sweet young woman who has been saying the word up, up for the last few minutes. And I think it's because she wants to be called up to the Bima. And so it's my pleasure to invite up Adeline Sammy Young and her parents, Lauren and Justin, to do us the honor of lighting the, oh, she does want it, to do us the honor of lighting the Shabbat candles. But first we continue with Shalom Aleichem on page 142.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Asharet, Malachei Elyon, Melech, Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Bokem Shalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech, Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
I like to know this prayer too.
You want to put your hands
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kishana b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat. Amen. As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light.
Amen. No, don't go away. I'd like to ask the congregation to please rise.
When you have a child, then you have to stand the beam of common.
Good. There is no greater responsibility than the responsibility of taking care of someone who cannot take care of themselves. The Talit in Judaism reminds us of the responsibilities of adulthood. But when we wear the Talit, we wear it like a loving embrace, as though God's divine arms are around our shoulders, holding us and comforting us. We beautify our talitot to remind us that responsibility is an honor and a privilege and not a burden. When we care for a little one, that is when we need God's embrace the most. And a good stiff drink at around 8 o'clock at night. There you go. And so, as you embrace your child, I hope you feel the embrace of your family, of your congregation, of this entire community. Because we don't raise our children by ourselves. We find a village or a synagogue or a community that helps us as we help them. Do you have your blessing? You want these here?
You can use it really quick.
Big prayer, yes. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kishana b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahachrisna b'riv am Yisrael. We praise you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot and commands us to bring our daughter into the covenant of our people, Israel.
Amen. Boy, she's ready.
Just so you know, because you couldn't see, but as soon as she heard Baruch atah Adonai, she covered her eyes. She was ready.
She's ready. She knows.
Zoom shot.
Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu kayam et hayilda hazot la'aviha u'li'ima v'yikra shema b'Yisrael Marni Ilana bat Yosef v'chaya Sidra. Our God and God of our mothers and our fathers, sustain this child through her parents' loving care. Let her be known among our people Israel by the name Marni Ilana bat Yosef v'chaya Sidra. May your name be a source of joy to her and inspire her to serve our people and all humankind. Here, do you want to hold this? May her parents rejoice in the growth of her body and her spirit, and as they have brought her into the covenant, so may they, with wisdom and with patience, lead her to the study of Torah, to a life filled with good deeds, and to a marriage worthy of God's blessing. And let us say, Amen. This is just for you.
יברכך אדוני וישמרך.
May the Holy One bless you and keep you.
יאר אדוני פניו אליך ויחונך.
May the Holy One always turn towards you with kindness and with compassion.
יישא אדוני פניו אליך וישם לך שלום, וישם לך שלום.
May the Holy One bless you with a long and healthy life, and may the Holy One bless your parents with you having a life filled with shalom, filled with peace. And let us say,
Amen. Mazel tov.
names are a blessing and a gift in Judaism. It's something that anchors us in our past, as our parents' names are included in ours, but they're also something that displays the hope and the dreams our parents have for us. So I'm going to invite the two of you, or whoever is the spokesperson for the family.
We'll both do it. Hi. Her name, Marni Ilana, is after, Marni is after my maternal grandfather, Murray Smoller. And Marni means joy. And Adeline was born actually 2 years ago today, May 6, 2020, basically during the height of lockdown. So she brought a lot of joy to everyone's lives during that dark time.
Her middle name is Alana, and when we first met with Rabbi Alfie a little over 2 years ago on Zoom, we joked that the baby naming would coincide with her bat mitzvah, and we're just really glad and blessed that it could be 2 years from now. So thank you. Yeah, so Alana means oak tree, and she was named after my father, who's out there, his sister, Iris Siegel. I unfortunately never got to meet her, but she had a number of obstacles and challenges in her life, and she was incredibly strong from what I've been told, and so the strength of an oak tree, and also being in the city of trees. So.
Beautiful.
May she always find meaning and inspiration from her name. We have a couple of gifts for you guys. We have a little baby kippah, a young girl kippah, that we hope she'll wear with great joy when she comes for Tat Shabbat or any other services, and a book on spiritual parenting. And so I wish I had a book that would unlock all the mysteries of the years to come, but the two of you get to enjoy that together. So, Mazel tov.
She done good. I'm tempted to say Baruch. Baruchuni l'shalom, malachei hashalom, malachei elyon, mi-melech, malachei hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. צאתכם לשלום, מלאכי השלום, מלאכי עליון. מלך מלאכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא.
We rise for the Baruch Hu on page 146.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
We continue on page 149. This is an hour of change. Within it, we stand uncertain on the border of light. Shall we draw back or cross over? Where shall our hearts turn? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? This is the hour of change, and within it, we stand quietly on the border of light. What lies before us? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? Baruch atah Adonai, Hama'ariv Aravim. Page 150.
אהבת עולם בית ישראל, עמך אהבת. תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו לימדת. על כן אדוני אלוהינו, בשוכבנו ובקומנו, נשיח בחוקיך, ונשמח בדברי תורתך, ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד. כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו, ובהם נגן יומם ולילה. ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. 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 ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד. ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד.
We continue together with the Ve'ahavta on page 154.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. אמן.
This month, the month of May, is Mental Health Awareness Month. Tomorrow, about 40 members of our congregation, actually I think more, because some of you guys will be joining us as well, will be gathering with thousands of others in Land Park to walk for mental health. We'll walk to bring awareness. We'll walk to try to get rid of the stigma. We will walk to raise money to get the proper care and resources that are needed. Why am I saying this before the Micha Mocha? Because I have come to realize during COVID that the Micha Mocha, a prayer for redemption, is not in there so that we'll remember what happened to our ancestors in Egypt as they fled slavery. We have Passover for that. It's a reminder that each and every day we might be crossing through an impossible sea. Each day we may feel the fear of Pharaoh's army running up behind us. Because each day we need to be reminded to hold on and to have strength and to keep going forward, even on those days where all we want to do is sit and hide. And so as we sing this Micha Mocha, let's hold in our hearts all of those who perhaps needed someone's hand for them to cross the sea, because we can't leave anyone behind. Page 158.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא בהילות עושה פלא, נורא בהילות עושה פלא. מלכותך ראו בניך, פוגע ים לפני משה. זה אלי אנו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגלו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
We continue together on page 160.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu L'Shalom, L'Shalom, V'ha'amideinu Malkeinu L'chaim. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Amen. Shelter us beneath thy wings, O Adonai. Guard us from all harmful things, O Adonai. Keep us safe throughout the night, till we wake with morning's light. Keep us daily wrong from right. Amen. 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 Amen.
So I know the busy kids were so eager to come on up, so I want to invite all of the busy students, I don't know, they're not here as students, they're here as teenagers. I would like to invite all of our teens, both those who are B'nai Mitzvah students and who are here tonight as part of the Shulin, to come on up to help us, to lead us in Vishamru and the Tefillah, beginning on page 162.
Veshamru b'nei Israel HaShabbat Lasot et HaShabbat L'dorotam berit olam. Veshamru b'nei Israel HaShabbat Lasot et HaShabbat L'dorotam berit olam. Beni uvein b'nei Israel, oti leolam, oti leolam. Veshamru b'nei Israel HaShabbat Lasot et HaShabbat L'dorotam berit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim ve'et haaretz. Veshamru b'nei Israel et hashabbat lasot et hashabbat L'dorotam berit olam. Uvayom hashvi'i Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash. Veshamru b'nei Israel et hashabbat lasot et hashabbat L'dorotam berit olam.
Please rise and join us for Tefillah on page 164. Adonai, Sefatai Tiftachu Fi Yagid Tehilatecha. Adonai, open my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avoteinu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarai, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah.
El Hagadol, Hagibor, Vehanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Vekonei Hakol, Vezocher Chasdei Avot Bimahot, Umevi Geula Nebneihem, Leman Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Hozer U'Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch Atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Bezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechaye Hakol, Atah Rav Le'Oshia, Morid Atah, Mechakel Chayim Bechesed, Mechaye Hakol Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim Verofei Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato, Lishanei Afar, Michamocha Ba'gevurot, Umidom Melach, Melech Memit, Umechayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atah lechayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh hakol, Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, O kadoshim b'chol yom, Yehallelucha Selah. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh.
I missed that. Was not, they were, thank you all. We continue praying privately from page 172 through 180, either standing or sitting as is your custom.
inside your heart, just be. Go inside your heart and see what it wants, what it needs, what it yearns when you breathe. Go inside your heart and see. May the word of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be kind, be true, may they be acceptable to you. Oh, my rock and my redeemer.
Our thoughts and our prayers now turn to those in our lives, or perhaps ourselves, who are in need of, it's just allergies. Sorry. It's killing me. I get it. Who are in need of healing of body, healing of allergies, healing of spirit. But we are expected as Jews to do more than pray. We are also expected to do. And so while we pray for those who are in need of a refuah shlema, let us also remind ourselves that between this Shabbat and next, we should also reach out to those who are in need. If there's someone we know who is suffering of an illness or an emotional pain, let's ask ourselves, what can we do this week to lighten their burden? Please join us on page 371.
Mi sheberak avoteinu, Avraham, Yitzchak, v'Yaakov. Mi sheberach imotenu, Sarah, Rivka, Leah, v'Rachel. May the one who blessed our mothers, may the one who blessed our fathers, hear our prayer.
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 And bless us as well.
Bless us with the power of your healing. Bless us with the power of your hope. May our hearts be filled with understanding and strengthened by the power of your love. Bless us with a vision for tomorrow. Help us to reach out to those in pain. May the warmth of friendship ease our sorrow. Give us courage, give us faith, show us the way. Mishaberach avotenu, Mishaberach imotenu.
Hear our prayer.
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 Hear our
Hear
prayer.
our prayer.
Hear our prayer.
Hear our prayer.
Hear
Hear
our prayer.
our prayer.
And
Bless us as well.
Shabbat Shalom. Judaism teaches us that there are different types of wisdom. There is the type of wisdom that we acquire through life by just living to a certain age. There's wisdom that we acquire through books. And there is also wisdom to be found in the arts and through music, through different sources other than text. And that sometimes art itself or life itself can become the text. And so we're going to have a slightly different type of drash tonight. We're going to let our eyes help us and guide us and teach us. And for that, we have a special guest. We have been very blessed all week to have a scholar in residence, Gilad Bar Shalev. One of the perks of having a rabbi from Israel is that she has friends from Israel who are also talented in a variety of ways. And so we've been blessed this year to be able to really have an abundance of very different types of scholars come and join us and teach us. Gilad is a very well-respected artist from Halen, and he is a member of our sister congregation, Kodesh V'Chol. Have you been there? It's a lovely, the synagogue doesn't look like much yet, but the community, the Kehila, is gorgeous from what I hear. Is that what you've heard? Something like that? Gilad is a portrait, street, documentary, and fashion photographer based in Tel Aviv. He was born in Jerusalem in 1981, which I'm horrified to say was the year I became a bat mitzvah. I feel very old. And he studied photography at HAC Jerusalem in the early 2000s. In 2008, he opened his own photography studio in Tel Aviv and has been shooting commercial and personal work since then. He's also a member of the Indie Photography Group Gallery and has a monthly column in Haaretz newspaper, which I want to know, is that article also in the English version? Do you want me to start petitioning them that they should translate it into? I'll do what I can do. And he has exhibited in numerous groups, at group shows and exhibitions in recent years. Among those was one called Local Testimony as part of the World Press Photo and Photo Israel, an international photo festival. His first book was, I like that it was the first because that implies that we'll get to see more. His first book is called First Impressions, and was published in 2020, as well as his first solo exhibition, which included selected images from the book. By taking a direct approach with his subjects, he seeks to portray people in their natural surroundings, while keeping a balance between entering their world and respecting their personal space. It is my pleasure to invite Gilad Bar Shalev onto the bima. You should bring her everywhere you go. It's all yours.
Hodaya, you're hired. You follow us everywhere. Yeah. We're not abandoning you.
Thank you so much.
The water's for you.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, first of all, Mona, for having me. I would like to thank, in the beginning, everybody in the Bnei Israel community. Thank you so much for having me here, and it's really a pleasure to meet everybody here during this week. Some familiar faces I did portraits of, so thank you, everybody. First of all, I would like to tell you a little bit about myself. You said most of it. But I grew up in Jerusalem, and I studied in a religious school for the first 8 years of my life, of my schooling. So it was a Reform, American mostly, community. So I got to know a lot of different ways of thinking about Judaism during that time. Although I'm not religious, it was a good school for me, so I got a lot of perspective about Judaism. And let me just, I want to say thank you, first of all, also to Brian and Dorothy for having me. They're not here today, but they I'm their guest, so thanks for that. Also to Galit, Adar, and the family. Thanks for. So, let me tell you about my photos. What I basically do in my personal work is I walk on the street and I meet people that I don't know and ask for their permission to take a portrait of them. And for me, it's a way of looking at the world and people I don't know in a new way that I don't always have the opportunity to do in my personal life. The camera gives me an opportunity really to walk around and ask for people to see them really for themselves. It gives me a way into their lives that without the camera I would never have. So Galit told me that this week parasha is Parashat Kedoshim. And inside that parasha there's a beautiful sentence, Ve'ahavta lerecha kamocha. And Galit told me this is just perfect for you, because what I try to do with my photography is to love other people without any condition. That means anybody that's different than me, that I would never have a contact with them in real life, I get the opportunity to, with the camera, to love them as much as I try to love myself, of course. So this first photo is actually not a portrait, but for me it represents my the whole of my portrait work. And also relates to the Jewish community. This is a tree I found in a. Can we turn off just the lights a little bit? So that's fine. It's okay. Thank you. Definitely. Okay, that's okay. Thank you. Thank you. So this tree, actually, I found it in a city close to Holon, about a few miles away. And it represents to me the roots, where everybody has their own roots and their past. And one of the things I saw here from the people I met and all over the world, that everybody is connected to their roots. Something about who you are really is about your past. And I think the most beautiful things come from if you're connected to if you know your history and where you came from. So this photo is really important to me in that way. Now, I do have a monthly column in Iton Haaretz. That's an Israeli newspaper that's liberal, extremely liberal and open-minded in general. So I got this opportunity to do this monthly column and just walk around Israel. And every time I try to go to a place I've never been before and meet people that I didn't meet before, and in a way to represent what usually is not on the news. That means to show real people and the real surroundings without the politics involved. Just to go there, meet them, take a photo of them if they agree to it, and see them in a way that I think I try to make them beautiful and real as possible. So this is the first photo. It's been taken in a forest between Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. This is a father and daughter walking in the forest, and something about this scene was really touching to me. Something in their connection and the way they dress was really appealing to me, because it felt to me there's a story behind their connection. This photo is in South Tel Aviv, and this is actually an old couple I visited a few times. It's close to the highway, so there's between the houses and the highway, there's a small garden. And every time I came there, I went through by this garden to see if they were there. And it's actually quite a sad story, but I came there a few times and it took a few times their portrait. And the last time I came, there was only the man. So without any words, I understood that his wife is probably not with us. So this photo also is really touching to me because something about them was really young at heart, and you can see they have true love between them with their interaction. This photo was taken up north in Israel, in Nachal HaShofet, it's called. It's a small river in the United States. It's really small considering, but this man was on a wheelchair, and it was a permanent thing for him. I had to talk with him, and he had this disability, and something about his attitude was so optimistic, and it gave me a lot of how can I say it, optimism. It gave me inspiration about how a person could be in a difficult situation and still be happy and positive. And I asked him, can I take a photo of you? And he was, yeah, definitely. He was so happy about it. So it was really exciting for me. This is a photo I did and for Haaretz again. I went to Kfar Chabad. Kfar Chabad is a small village that the only people living there are Chabadnikim. That means they belong to the Hasidic stream of Chabad. So the whole village is basically based on that Torah. And I was walking there and I was trying to meet people that would agree to get photographed. And I found a lot of openness where I would expect them not to accept me. I'm not religious, I'm not a part of them. And to my surprise, a lot of people agreed and even greeted me to their house and really made me feel at home there. So this is the head rabbi of the house of Chabad in that village. I took his portrait in the room close to where the rabbi, they said, was. It's actually a duplica. There's also, of course, the original house is in Brooklyn, New York, 770. So I took his photo. This is a funny story. Around the world, there's the 770 house in Brooklyn, New York, and they actually make duplicates of it all over the world. They try to make the same house exactly. So this is actually in Israel, although the way of building, the architecture in Israel is not this way at all. So they do this all over. So this is in Israel also. And now this is a different column I did for Haaretz. It's in the settlement Tkoa. Tkoa is south to Jerusalem. And it's a really unique place. Although it's a settlement and most people belong to the political right, it's a unique place because it has a mixture of spiritual and a lot of artists live there. So it's a kind of a mix between idealism and also spirit about spirit. So this young boy was actually standing outside his house. I met him and I took his portrait, and actually I took his father's portrait also. So again, in a settlement, somebody coming from a newspaper, non-religious, comes to them and asks them to be exposed. And again, they greeted me and with open hands. This is the view from Tkoa. This is a small Arab village, so you can basically see the closeness of this settlement to Arab villages and all the things that go with that. It's a beautiful place. It's called the Herodion. Adar, do you know anything about the Herodion? Yes. So it's like a historical monument. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. These are three soldiers sitting on the top of a hill in Tekoa, the settlement. It was a unique story, interesting story for me because actually I didn't come to take a photo of them. I saw from the road down the bottom of the mountain that three Arab women and men were picking olives from a tree. And I said maybe I could take a photo of them. That was inside the settlement area, inside the fence. So I walked up this mountain and I wanted to take their photo, and they didn't agree. And from what I understand, they really could not get photographed because they were in fear of being exposed that maybe that they were working for a settlement. I don't know exactly the reason, but they refused to get photographed. And the most interesting thing about this is actually these three Arab people were guarded by three soldiers picking olives. So that'll show you, in a way, the little political way things happen. And it's kind of a ridiculous situation. So I went to these guys, and they were basically just bored, waiting to pass their shifts till somebody comes instead of them or something like that. And in a way, to see these people sitting on this mountain, they're young people. They're around 19-year-old kids, basically. Not much older than the kids here, really. So behind the uniform and the weapons and the guns, these are real people. So again, I tried to walk in their shoes. And I was a soldier, of course, but to see them in this situation where they're having to be guarding olive gardeners, basically. So yeah, so their face really speaks about they're not being tough soldiers, just people. Last thing is from the city of Al-Fahim. That's, I think it's the biggest Arab city in Israel. And as a part of this column, I tried to also not go to Jewish areas, but also to Arab villages. And I was walking around there, and I met many, many people that were, again, greeting and loving. And I try, with me, to show people is a way to show that what we hear in the news and what actually is so everybody feels so strongly about, when it comes down to the people, they're all the same. They have the same wishes and same ambitions in life. And I really felt it strongly in Al-Fahim. They were so happy that somebody is actually getting really interested in them, not in the bad way of news, but in a humanistic way. This is a girl I met there. Actually, the horse was outside the house, and I loved the horse so much, so I started knocking on a few doors to find out who this horse belongs to. So after, I think, knocking on 2 doors, I found this girl, and she said, yeah, it's my horse, and she came out, and I got a photograph of her. These are 2 young guys that I asked them to get photographed. Their father was right next to me. Always ethical thing with photography when you're taking portraits of young people below the age of 18. So of course you need to have permission. So I love the way that they just wear the same clothes exactly. So, and I'm not sure if they're twins or they have an age difference, but I really like their clothing. So, and that's it. So thank you so much. And I have to say that I love being here, and I'm excited to meet all the people here in the congregation, because this is a part of the big story about people, their origins, their roots. So thank you again. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask the first question to give you guys a chance to formulate your questions, and I'll bring the mic out. Um, so you're a Sabra, you're born and raised in Israel.
Yes.
Did doing this assignment for Haaretz, going around the country and meeting people that you normally wouldn't meet, did it affect the way you saw Israel?
Yeah, definitely. Well, first of all, I do come from this approach from the beginning. It was my initiative. That means I wasn't assigned to this thing. I actually decided what I'm going to do, then I offered it to them. But I'm always surprised by people. That's why I continue doing it, because actually I did, besides the guys from the community here, I walked around Sacramento also to not such good parts of it. And again, I meet these people, and behind that thing that we fear and the stigma we have about people, still every time that I meet somebody, there's curiosity and there's love and there's interest. So yeah, definitely.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions that they'd like to ask Elad? Michael?
Well, following what you just said, when you meet people at that level and they open their hearts to you and they let you into their lives, does that give you hope for the future, that someday there would be peace, a two-state peace?
Yeah, definitely.
Any kind of peace?
Yeah, I think there's always hope. Otherwise, I don't think we would do anything. We would not make beautiful things in the world if there's no hope. We wish for peace and we thrive for peace. I think most people do want it, again. So yeah, definitely there's hope. And I feel it also from people. There's a big longing for peace.
What camera do you use for these photos?
Yeah, actually, I wrote down for myself to talk about the technique. I use many different cameras because I'm a camera nut. I would not exaggerate if I have 30 cameras, but in general, for instance, this photo or most of the portraits were taken on a large format camera. That's film photography. A large format is kind of a wood camera, this big, and you have a ground glass in the behind, and you have to put like a black cloth and look with the loop to see the focus. It's a tedious procedure, but I think something is beautiful about this slow way of photographing. It's more intentional. But I also use digital. I have a few digital Leica cameras. I have medium format, and don't get into it. Ask my wife. She,
And Mazel Tov on your granddaughter.
How do you want to continue to share your experience of this journey besides like a forum here in the congregation? Do you have plans to expand and share the value of what you're showing and your experience?
Yeah, I definitely have this idea of me and Galit were speaking, and I actually started a project last year, August last year in New York, where I actually sent a lot of emails and made a lot of connections to Jewish people around New York, especially at the moment. But my main thing I would like to do right now is go all over the USA and find different ways of being Jewish. That means, how would I say it? Just finding different people that represent the Jewish life in the modern era. Because in Israel, usually we separate religious or not religious, So there's so many colors of Judaism, and for me it's beautiful. I forgot to tell in the beginning, my mother is American, so I do have a big connection to the States. My mother was born in New York, and I came here many, many times. So I know the United States, not as much as Israel, but I do love the way of being. I think it's more possible to be Jewish here in many different ways. So that's really interesting to me. I would love to continue this project all over the States. Yeah. Sure.
Okay. Is there a reason you take black and white photos?
Yeah, sure. First of all, I used to take a lot of color photos. Right now, I'm just in the stage, I love black and white photography, but in general, black and white has many advantages. For most, it's the traditional way of taking a photograph. That means photography is around for 200 years, give or take. And up until maybe 60 years ago, everything was black and white. So a lot of the classical photographs and portraits were taken in black and white. So it's a tradition. So I love to continue this tradition of black and white. Second of all, black and white has the tendency to show lighting in a more clean way and composition. So it gives me really a way to focus on the subject, to be more pronounced, more strong, in my opinion. It strips away some distractions. Yeah.
So, no, I was going to say one more, but I'll do two more. So these will be our final two questions.
Other than Israel, what countries have you done photography in?
How many countries besides Israel?
Yeah.
I was just in Romania and Hungary 2 weeks ago, actually. I was in Israel between the United States and Romania and Hungary. I was in Israel for 2 days. So I also was in Paris recently. I did some photography there. Before that, Istanbul, Turkey. Many places, many places.
So Steve, you get the last question. Make it a good one.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you for coming, and I love your work.
Thank you so much.
But I would like to challenge you a little bit.
Yeah.
You are a comfortable man, probably middle class. I love your character. When you look at these, when you take these pictures, there's a certain humanism that you feel. But when you're describing this to an audience like ours, what I hear is your interpretation. I don't hear their stories when I look at it.
Good
I'm
question.
wondering why you don't talk about the stories that you get from these people that are not always going to be comfortable and happy, but very different.
Yes, it's a good question. Thank you so much. I agree with you. In a way, photography, I also wrote this down to myself. Photography and any art form is kind of a self-portrait in a way. It's true that all these people really have stories I can write down. In a way, I choose not to get to the details because I do talk to these people, and I think it's about the feeling for me. It's, I want to make it universal. I think the individual story is really important if you know how to write about it and if you know how to add text, but for me, it's about a feeling, also about me, just walking, meeting people. It's the procedure itself, the process is really important to me as a photographer. So yeah, I hope I answered your question.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And Gilad, I understand that you donated one of your photos for the festival tomorrow?
Yes.
Is it by any chance the trees? Good. Try outbidding me on that one, people. Thank you, Gilad. Thank you not only for tonight, but for sharing your story and your pictures with us all week long. It's been a delight to be able to host you at our congregation. One of the other things that Gilad has been working on is a special, I don't know how to describe it, the photography project between Kodesh V'Chol and Congregation B'nai Israel, showing the faces of the Jewish people between our congregations and our communities. And so thank you. Thank you so much. It's my pleasure now to invite up the president of our congregation for some Shabbat greetings, Josh Mastronardi.
That's a little tough to follow. We don't have visual announcements tonight. So this will just be spoken word. Thank you, Rabbi Cantor Michael, for wonderful service, and thank you and welcome to Michael, or to Gilad, sorry, and Mazel Tov to Adeline and family. I saw her earlier. We'll have an oneg following services hosted by the Young family in honor of Adeline's baby naming. Tomorrow we have a whole bunch of things going on. 9:30 in the morning, Torah study on Zoom. 10:30, mini minyan, which I think is actually in the garden for families with children 1 to 5. At 10:30, Kavanah Shabbat, a joyful contemplative morning service in person and on Zoom. And then tomorrow evening, it's not too late to register and get tickets for the spring homecoming, which is going to be here. I think it's going to be out in the courtyard. It's supposed to be a nice day and a wonderful time. Some great entertainment, some fun things to bid on, apparently. Sunday, there's no religious school. And then next week, we have a whole bunch of things going on. On Tuesday, there's a joint event with Congregation Beth Shalom on Ukrainian refugee and other issues. On Wednesday, the Women of B'nai Israel's hosting a virtual tour of the San Francisco Jewish Museum's latest exhibit. Thursday, there's an American River Parkway cleanup. Friday is Education Shabbat, where we'll be honoring the teachers in Hadracha. And then next Saturday is Pajama Havdalah for children up to 3rd grade and their families to join for a festive potluck evening. And lots of fun. So all the details on all those things are in the Hadashot. And I will now invite any members of the board to stand up and introduce themselves. And past presidents. And committee chairs. And anyone else who'd like to stand and introduce yourself.
Can't follow that.
You have to.
I'm Michael Hersher. I'm the chair of the Lifelong Learning Committee.
It's great to see so much spirit here in the sanctuary tonight. Shabbat Shalom.
Talk for a minute. We are in theory, continue on page 586. I say in theory because we're actually doing an interpretation of the Lenu written by Dan Nichols. And when Cantor, did I get a little nice, little snaps? So if you guys know it, do you want to come up and? Just come on up. You can sway if you don't know the words, put your arms around each other and sway. That works for most Jewish songs.
It's up to us to call ourselves to task, to sing what's good and true, to bring about redemption. It's what we were freed to do. For what's the point of being here if we're not moved to change our ways? Aleinu l'shabeach. It's time to live our praise. We are carrying the stories of the ones who came before. What stories will be told of us when we are here no more? We commit ourselves to action. It brings meaning to our days. Aleinu l'shabeach. It's time to live our praise. It's up to us to own the vision. We are an answer to a call. It's up to us to live the words we speak for the benefit of all. It's up to us to bow down deeply. There's a broken world to raise. praise Aleinu l'shabeach. It's time to live our praise. Aleinu l'shabeach. It's time to live our praise. V'ne'emar v'haya Adonai l'melech al kol ha'aretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad. יפה מאוד.
Our thoughts now turn towards loved ones who are no longer with us. And it is our tradition to welcome back those into our midst who have most recently said goodbye to a loved one. And it is with great sadness that on behalf of our congregation, we welcome into our midst tonight Laura Halen, a beloved teacher of many of our students at Shalom School, who has lost her very beloved father, Alan Blitzing. So much easier if his last name had been Halen. Alan Blitzstein. Our condolences to you and to your brother Jeff. Our condolences as well to Joanne and Alex, for whom Alan was a very beloved uncle. And on behalf of the congregation, our condolences to your entire family. Wendy and Lexi, if you're watching us from the East Coast, our condolences to the two of you on this Shabbat as well. Our longtime members, Wendy Fisher and Lexi Nicodemus, just lost their beloved father and grandfather, Marvin Fisher, earlier this week on Sunday, and Wendy has gone back east to lay her father to rest. There will be a Shiva for Marvin, a Zoom Shiva next week. And information is, I think information went out, or will go out?
Yeah, it's Wednesday.
Wednesday night. For information, feel free to call the office. Our condolences as well upon the recent passing of Mary Lou Bloom, the beloved mother of Evan Bloom, beloved mother-in-law of Susan Dorenfeld, and beloved grandmother of Sam and Elijah Bloom. Also with sadness, we recall the recent passing of Carol Trachtenberg, the beloved mother of Jeanette, Tracy, and Jeff Egan, beloved mother-in-law of Carrie Egan, beloved grandmother of Bethany Grove, Nathan Egan, Mitchell and Rachel Warrington, and beloved great-grandmother of Simon, Lucia, and Louis Grove. Zichronam livracha. May all of their memories forever be a blessing. We also recall loved ones who have passed away at this time in season past. We remember Jacob Ash, Suanne Ashler, Simon Bahar, Solomon Bekowitz, David Burke, Dean Brodke, Rosalind Brodke, Selby Cohen Horowitz, Marjorie Deutsch, Maury Einhorn, Cecile Fierberg, Phyllis Fisher, Louis Foreman, Marvin Fortman, Phyllis Freeman, Stefan Allen Freifeld, Marcia Green, Tessie Hammer, Irving Hurwitz, Bennett Candell, Dolly Kelter, Billy Lane, Kathy Lane, William Liebenhout, Elliot Lewis, Esther Lisnick, Michael Lutzke, Catherine Macy, Irving Michaels, Jack Miller, Gina Moreno, Judith Barbara Morse, Carl Neufeld, Francis Oliveira, Kitty Patterson, Nancy Peranich, Pan Perlis, Ruth Porter, Abe Purcell, Shirley Rabinovitz, Fran Rostov, Irvin Roth, Burl Rubenstein, Richard Ruman, Elaine Sackett, Arthur Samaville, Hattie Shore, Abraham Sarah Brenny, Scott Simons, Bernie Singerman, Louisa Sparrow, David Steinberg, Minnie Sturgatch, Eunice Swartz, Edna Tublin, Abraham Wallach, David Wasserman, and Mary Winbrandt. If there are any names that anyone would like to add to the Kaddish list, please feel free to call those names aloud as my gaze meets yours. And for those of you who are joining us from home, please feel free to write the names of your loved ones in the chat so we can honor them as well. If you're saying Kaddish for a loved one tonight, I'd like to invite you to please rise. And if the congregation can please join me in these words of comfort. Hamakom yenechem etchem betok sha'ar of Leit Zion v'Yushalayim. May God comfort you among the mourners of Zion and Jerusalem. We rise to offer comfort to those who grieve as we continue together on page 598. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chaye chon v'yom echon v'chaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'bizman kari v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam omei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitraman v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shmei dekutsha barichu, Le'ela min kol birchata vishirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, dami ran be'alma v'imru, amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. Osei shalom b'imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. May the source of peace and peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved. And let us say, Amen. Please be seated. Michael, what lovely bit of music do you have for us tonight to close with?
As always, we pray for peace. We pray that everyone can become the kind of person that they want to be, the kind of person that Gilad tries to photograph as he goes through the world. But we have to keep dreaming for it, and we have to keep working for it. Last night I had the strangest dream. I never dreamed it before. I dreamed the world had all agreed to put an end to war. I dreamed there was a mighty room, and the room was filled with women and men, and a paper they were signing said they'd never fight again. And when that paper, it was all signed, and 1,000,000 copies were made, they all joined hands and bowed their heads, and grateful prayers were prayed. And the people down in the street below were dancing all round and round, and swords and guns and uniforms were scattered all around the ground. Last night I had the strangest dream. I never dreamed it before. I dreamed the world had all agreed to put an end to war.
Amen. Thank you, Michael. And so we conclude Shabbat services with, as we do every Shabbat, with the Kiddush and the Motzi. And I'd like to invite you, those of you who want to, Miriam, you could feel free to stay seated. But those of you who want to come and join us in leading us in the Kiddush and the Motzi.
She's digging in her heels. You can't make me. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho v'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit ki hu yom techilah lemikra'ei kodesh zecher letziat mitzrayim kivanu v'karta v'eltanu kidashta mikol amim v'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu Baruch atah, careful, Adonai, mekadesh ha-shabbat. Amen. L'chaim u'shalom.
Just so you know, because not only am I touching the challah, but I'll invite any of you who want to join us. You're welcome to touch the challah, because this is not the one we eat. Because I'm did I just? There will be an untouched challah that was cut and is waiting for you at the oneg, along with other delicious things.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam.
It's the same challah every week.
Lechem mi'haaretz. Amen.
Shabbat shalom. Please join us at the oneg.
How old is that hall?